Hola familia. It's your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly here again with another message. I'm going to be honest, I've already pulled some cards. What occurred was that this was to be a more personal message. And after pulling this initial layout, I felt led by Spirit to open it up. Um, the good news about a lot of the times that we realize that, when we have undergone or going through certain, you know, um, issues or situations in our lives, right? A lot of the time we think we're by ourselves, and the good news is that, we're not by ourselves, right? And that is encouraging, right? But it's also the bad news, right? That unfortunately, too many people suffer with, these, array of issues. But nevertheless, I felt led to open up this reading and share what has come through so far, and then continue to just see what other messages Spirit wants to, you know, um, I would use the word bless us with, right? I truly, my disclaimer will very vulnerably and honestly admit that tarot has been um, very much a healing tool for me in my life. And I am really grateful for the way in which the uh, ability to utilize the cards, whether they're tarot or oracle, um, and the illustrations to really, what I have found, help me express, uh, you know, um, uh, feelings, emotions that in the past I found difficulty with expressing them. And not only does it or has it been a tool that allows me to express it, but to clarify a lot of it as well, to put it in perspective and help kind of like make sense of it. Confirmation. um, as well as a great tool that has aided me in what I believe, based on my disclaimer, divinity, my belief in divinity, this oneness, this consciousness, right? This oneness, um, as well as ancestral veneration. I believe it has provided me a direct line, not the only line, right? But because you know I connected to spirit way before tarot cards. Um, but I will admit that this has been very instrumental in uh, helping me navigate and obtain clarity and understanding and feel comfortable expressing um, and bringing out a lot of issues, particularly related to my childhood trauma that I had found um, in the past. Found it difficult to explore and to even utter aloud. And I think that that's the greatest uh, avenue for me, was that the pictures, right? These illustrations allow um, for my inner child to come out and play, right? I just got a vision of a child maybe sitting in a corner, you know, not speaking, timid, even afraid. Um, and then I just thought of, parents who were maybe, or caretakers who were concerned for this child, and then them taking her or him to psychologists, and the psychologists being very astute with understanding children and utilizing like art therapy and music and drawing and or painting, um, as a form of assisting the child with discussing, um, what may be troubling them, right? And what otherwise they would not feel comfortable uttering because, maybe they think they would get in trouble or they've been threatened or, an array of reasons. I'm even envisioning a child, those, movies where you'll see that the psychologist will tell the child, or even a parent, say, take a drawing of a child and say, well, who is this and who is that? And, those pictures become very telling, right? To those who can perceive and who are willing, I'm hearing, to see, right? And to understand. Um, and it's almost like, now I'm hearing spirit saying, and of course, this is not to replace psychologists, therapists, or counselors in any kind of way. In addition to this, first and foremost, again, my disclaimer is divinity for me, right? Is like the number one thing in my life. Uh, then I would say at my ancestors and spirit guides and the spirit animals, which are really reflected in this card. I'll talk about in a minute. In addition to tarot and other divinatory tools and practices, I too also, I'll share vulnerably that I also incorporate and have throughout, the 50 years of my life, therapy, and I found it helpful, um, frustrating at times, not with the actual practice of it, but with the process of, obtaining a therapist and things of that nature sometimes, and the expense of it as a, Westerner. But nevertheless, very instrumental in assisting, right? Being yet another tool in my toolbox that I have collected throughout the years. So yeah, this is well, without further ado, I just whispered, let's go, right? Let's go in. So, the first card that I drew was this, which would be the Nine of Cups in the most tarot, right? Nine of Cups. And it's indulgence, and it's a cherub. And it looks like Cupid also, right? And I just thought about it. I don't know if I was supposed to cover that body now that I hope that you don't flag this. But in the Nine of Cups, or this indulgence card, again, interestingly enough, initially to my adult self, it almost comes across as a warning, right? As like indulging is a bad thing, right? Automatically, my mind wants to put this label on it of, more of a negative than a positive, which is interesting, right? Which then I have to ask myself, why would, indulging be so negative, right? Where did I get that belief system from? Um, you know, especially when we look at the Nine of Cups in Rider-Waite-Smith, it tends to speak to, you know, our accomplishments, you know, our heart's desires. So again, where have I been taught, or we have been taught, that what we desire, our heart's desires, or our sense of accomplishments are a negative thing, or are not to be celebrated, or desired somehow, like if it's taboo, right? Hence the, you know, little naked body of this cherub. He has the strawberry on top of the head, and he's laying on this delectable, you know, dessert that, you know, again, I can think of more cases where that image has been posed to me as sinful, as threatening, as a warning, as opposed to something to enjoy and delight in, right? Um, and of course, everything I'm hearing in moderation, right? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam there is said that there is a hadith that indicates that, you know, per him, the middle path is the best path, right? Balance. Um, but it's interesting, right? And I am hearing Spirit say that we pay attention to how certain words or phrases uh, sound to us, and then to even go a step further and question, well, why, right? Because we all, you know, I'm hearing another word like the word selfish, right? For most individuals, when you hear the word selfish, and I'll place myself there as well, it's a negative thing, right? Or fear, it's a negative thing. But those words in and of themselves do not hold, or do not only have the power to hold a warning or a negative connotations to it. They can be very positive as well. You know, there are moments in time where it is a good thing to be selfish. It is a good thing to have fear, right? Uh, so it's just interesting, you know. The music that came in. Um, so uh, I just, when I heard the music, I kept looking at the card joy, right? Right. Music does bring, or for most, does tend to bring uh, joy, all right? Make most events, or, you know, yeah, joyful. They do, you know, it does provide a sense of joy. And now all kinds of thoughts are coming through my head. You know, the angels. You know what I mean? If you ascribe to that, and you know, thinking of even the shaitan or Satan in Western mythology, where we hear that you know, uh, that Satan was the, like, the lead um, musician in some renditions of him, right, of Satan. So it's interesting, again, how yeah. So there's something there, and maybe Spirit will, you know, give us more insight into that as the movie, or it'll make, you know, become a little more prevalent as the reading goes on, or not. You know, maybe it's just that simple to kind of pay attention to the way certain words or terms, how we hear them, and what is the first initial response to them, and that it would behoove us in most cases to kind of, you know, dissect that a little bit, and make sure that we give it its proper context, and you know, so yeah, that's interesting. um, I found it very interesting that this cherubim, this Cupid Venusian like character, is staring over at this little girl, because the second card that came out was the Sun card, Joy, right? And I was even hearing, like, if her name is Joy, right? Maybe there's someone, Joy, that's listening to this, and it's Mama. You know, I heard this is for you, right? But this cherubim is looking over, and I'm going to try to cover the body now. But I wish the face, the expression, it was so beautiful. It is like so pleased, so filled with joy itself, right? But it doesn't seem to be necessarily from laying on this dessert, because no fingers are in the dessert. There's no indication that he has indulged in the dessert in any kind of way, right? Or partaken of it. Um, it just seems that it is like an almost utter enjoyment of the little girl and her joy and her um, smile, and the animals that are around her, right? So it's like, I don't know, I hear like, almost him saying, job well done, um, so there's a sense of this indulgence, this ability to allow ourselves to indulge, right? Um, but particularly since I gave this whole big preview earlier about inner child and drawing, and that, like, that was his assignment, to ensure that this child smiled again, right? That this joy was restored back to this child. And I'm hearing the child that they're referencing is your inner child, right? That was the purpose of this cherubim. That was his assignment. And he's sitting there, with this strawberry on top, like almost patting himself on the back, like, good job, we did it, right? Like, I did it. I was able through, I don't know, Venus is about aesthetics and beauty and love and, enjoyment and fulfillment and desires, right? And accomplishments, able to, I'm hearing, literally restore the innocence of this child again, right? And how imperative it was to restore the innocence of this child, right? Because this child has been walking around for, I'm hearing, too many years, afraid, dismissed, misunderstood, not seen, not heard, right? And I'm just heard, even for some of you, angry, right? I heard rage too, right? Um, Feeling like her best years were taken from her innocence was stolen in an array of ways. And we're saying her because there's a little girl in this picture, but this is, of course, this is not gender based. This would be applicable to a little boy as well inside, right? And finally, they are, I just heard returned home, right? They have been able to finally be heard, be seen, right? Play again, believe again, hope again, right? Laugh again, right? And it was beautiful because what I was hearing was that, I keep not wanting to pick up this card because of but that this cherubim was you, right? You were an active participant in ensuring that this innocence was restored to yourself, to your inner child, because you began to understand the necessity of tending to it, right? You know, you understood for whatever reason, I don't know what tower occurred, what precipitated this beautiful decision to tend to this child, but you did, right? And all the way up to 9, right? 9 being right before the 10, the completion. You know, and for some, 9 is the completion, they say. But it took you time and effort, and it, you know, I'm hearing it has, the road has been rough, the mountains have been, you know, high, the valleys have been low, right? But you didn't give up on yourself, and you kept persistence persisting and persevering, because you finally understood um, your sense of self-worth, and that you deserved nothing less than uh, uh, yeah, nothing less. That's it, right? You deserve to be uh, filled with the joy. You deserved to indulge, have some desires, right, fulfilled. Yes, and you work towards that, and congratulations, right? And now, of course, in this picture, we are also see that there was definitely some assistance, right? If we, you know, plug in, if you wanted to, each spirit animal and their characteristics and their spiritual meaning, we will see the beauty that each provide, right? The dog with loyalty, so the loyalty and the dedication, right, that you needed to help you with this, right, to yourself. The turtle with its, you know, slow and steady wins the race, right? That you had to be patient with yourself and persevere, right? These birds, I see them as yin and yang, right? Balancing this feminine and masculine aspects of yourself, and learning to deal with those energies, as not deal with, but heal and receive these energies, right? This kangaroo with the baby kangaroo is more of like, I see it more as a mothering, like a fathering, nurturing essence, right? That was needed. This dolphin, right? The depths of the sea, but playfulness, right? I just heard quizzical, whimsical, um, but willing to swim in those emotions, right? And confront them, and feel them through. And then this, you know, horse, right? Freedom, right? Yeah, I'm hearing Black Beauty, right? This, I don't know, ability and permission to trollop. I don't know what that is, right? To gallop about freely, right? Um, it was like all of these, and then, you know, my disclaimer too, if you know, you know, these sunflowers, which as you can see here, they'd be Oshun, right? Which would, you know, would be very Venusian as well, Oshun, right? Ashe Mama, right? You know, for some of you, if you know, you know, she has been very much a part of assisting you with this journey, right, to this sun. And then I'm even hearing with the sun above her as well as on her shirt. For some of you, connections to Egypt and the sun god Ra. So it's like you were, you know, aided all along the way by a powerful spirit team, right? Yeah. I'm hearing you were never alone. You know, now I'm hearing that poem about the footprints, right? When you only saw one set, that was me carrying you, right? You were never alone. right? And I'm here, I will never leave you nor forsake you, right? People will, because we're all humans, right? Humanity is humanity. So we, you know, tend to behave that way, but they're saying they never will, right? They're loyal, right? And then the third card that was revealed was this departure card. And I instinctively got the message of like Noah's Ark for those of you who are familiar with the story, right? The world was flooded, you know, and um, an ark was built. Animals in twos by twos were saved along with a couple of humans, Noah and his peeps. And then one day they saw, I think it was a dove with a twig in its mouth, which then let them know that land was near, right? So whether you think it's history, mythology, I'm not here to discuss that with you or go back. That's not the point. The point was this beautiful, which is also they're making sure I want to say is the Six of Swords, Six of Air, right? Which would normally be interpreted as forward movement, right? Moving away from turbulent, cloudy, unclear places to, you know, clear blue skies and calm waters, right? So it seems as if this ability to allow yourself to indulge, right? And to give yourself permission to desire, to dream again, to hope again, has opened up and healed massively this child like essence in you that then provided the gateway. I'm hearing the portal for forward movement, departure of, um, I'm hearing old patterns, old belief systems, right? They couldn't stand anymore. Those pillars had to crumble, right? Based on the new information, based on the fact that you were willing to uh, no longer repress um, and hide, you know, what you once thought was forbidden, right? Or was too horrible somehow to bring to light, right? Because I'm hearing that's why it becomes shadow. We, out of survival, no shade, no tea, our bodies, when it encounters specific traumas or wounding, to survive, it will, in most instances, repress memories um, to defend itself, right? And whenever it encounters similar situations, whether it is signaled through a statement, a comment, a picture, a situation, a scenario, it then once again thinks, oh, am I going to be in that situation again? And it defends itself again. So, you know, again, I just heard kudos. You know, this is not easy work, right? It is not very initially pleasing, appealing, comfortable, excuse me, confirmation, but so necessary, I'm hearing Spirit say, because the benefits are unfathomable, you know. Yeah. You know, one of the things I want to go back to this, when I read, you know, because there's certain ones I like to read to just get a little more insight from the book to see. And I love the way the author, it's called the She Tarot. The author indicated that this leaf that this bluebird has in its mouth is a token, right, of the past. And she or he will use it in the new home to build his new nest and make it a part of the new nest to remember, right? As a reminder and as a memory, like a memorial, right? And it's interesting that we as human beings, we do that, right? We, whether it's through ancestral veneration, and there's different ethnicities, right? In Judaism, they're always saying remember, right? Asian cultures, Buddhist, it's remember, Mexican, the day of remember, right? Lest we forget, right? So I thought that was so beautiful because, again, the issue was that we try to forget. We want to dismiss. Initially, the body and the brain, because of the pain it endured for the, it says, let's get rid of every trace of that. I don't even want it in my presence anymore. But, when you come to terms with it, I'm hearing, and get to this place of joy and peace, right? And acceptance that it's okay to desire and to indulge. You're not a bad person because of it, right? You are more than happy to have this token, to remember, right? In the Christian Bible or Jewish Torah, over and over again, you hear they built the pillar, they built, placed a stone to remember, right? In Islam, to remember, right? So there is power in, such an act, right? Then I wanted to kind of just clarify or get a little more clarity on that, those three cards. And when I asked for one for the indulgence, interestingly enough, and I'll cover this up here, I got the 8 of Swords. And interestingly enough, it's like an angel, very similar to like this cherubim, which is a winged messenger, right? Son of Venus, according to some mythology. That we have an angel encaged, right? The wings are like in between these bars. So to just stand up would not work, right? Because those wings are out that way. Nevertheless, it can still wiggle out. The lid is open. It is not sealed shut. Yet, this angel feels trapped. In its mind, these forest trees and this cage has him or her bound. And again, I think just like the cherub up top, this winged angel down here at the bottom is a self-representation of you, right? And how one feels as a result of this repressed pain and emotions that we, again, due to survival, shut down, right? It does keep us in these mental prisons and blockages, and even prevents us from enjoying all that life has to offer us, because based on these blockages, based on these past events, we then feel unworthy, less than, whether it's because of our ethnicity, our race, our financial status, childhood trauma, all of these things then become these blockages, mental, that we believe from a teacher told us, a caregiver told us, that's all we heard, whatever the situation that occurred, But when we internalize it and believe it, then although those people, places, and things are removed, we have encaged ourselves. And although that I'm hearing prison guard is gone, whoever those prison guards were, and the prison door is open, right? The cage is open, we remain locked in, right? I always think of Pavlov, yeah. You know, the dog and ringing the bell. I can recall, and I've said this before, this dog that we had that would not come up the stairs because it remembered what happened when it did tribe in the past. And no matter how the old owner was gone, no matter how much we tried to coax it to come up, every time it tried to touch that first step, it would bring its little paw back, right? The conditioning, that's why I said Pavlov's conditioning. The conditioning had been so ingrained that although the individual was gone, the memory still remained and the dog was acting off the memory. I mean, think about that. That's powerful. I know. I know. Too many blockages, too many old systems of belief, you know. And another thing I'm hearing, the importance of getting back to this child, right, and addressing it is because particularly when we experience things as children or as teenagers, which is coming up, young adults, you know, particularly under the age of 23, some say 25, where we now know the prefrontal lobe of the brain is still not fully developed until that age. And that is the part of the brain that helps us, you know, get through logic and reason, right? You know, be able to, you know, logic and reason. There are situations, experiences, scenarios, upbringings, communities, families, exposures in school systems, all these things, we are taking it in for the most part. You have no other choice as a child. And when you're a child, you have not yet built up the capacity and the understanding to rationalize, to say, oh, this isn't personal, oh, they didn't really mean it against me, or oh, this person has a drug problem, or oh, this person has mental health, you know what I mean? We internalize it, you know, and we think at the time, because we're looking at it through childlike eyes, I'm the problem, there's something wrong with me. And then we develop shame because we then think we don't know how to make the distinction between I did something wrong, or this is something bad that happened to me, versus I am bad, I am wrong. And there's a profound difference that has been proven occurs when a person believes they're bad versus they did something bad, right? The psychological, I heard, trauma and abuse is just tremendous, horrific. So I'm hearing have compassion on yourself, right? And understanding why you would feel caged when the cage is open. So that's like, I'm hearing the first step, right? What are the first steps? Is acknowledging that the cage is open, acknowledging that you were stuck there, right? But then having enough compassion and understanding to know, you know, that, because that's another thing, when we are in that situation, we really do feel like we're the only one, and we're so scared to voice it and articulate it to anybody else because we're so scared we're the only one. They're gonna call me crazy, they're gonna call me a weirdo, there's something wrong with me, right? It's a cycle, like it just keeps So yeah, the Page of Pentacles came up after to, you know, further clarify joy. They're saying slow up. So one of the ways we combated this Eight of Swords was this indulgence, right? Um, I'm hearing, so it was in a way learning to um, okay, because I'm hearing with the Eight of Swords and my throat just tried to crack. This is important. As you can see, this individual in this cage by themselves, we tend to isolate ourselves and remove ourselves from people, right? And it was only in allowing ourselves to indulge, right? Whether it's through a hobby, um, play, movies, right? Whatever, something that would give us like a gateway, permission again to, you know, feel, to desire, right? That was very helpful in uh, believing that I needed to leave, not needed to leave, that this cage was more in my mind than reality, right? So then this Page of Pentacles comes up, and you know, this is the novice, right? That wants to explore, right? That wants to see how things operate, why they operate in the way that they do, right? This is the beginnings of such questions, such reflection to better understand on the road to mastery, right? You know, and I believe that as a result of feeling this blockage, right? And again, whatever brought you here, you know, some people say rock bottom when you finally realize enough is enough, right? For me, I saw repeated patterns where I found myself in very similar situations, just with different players. And that's when I had to say, hold up, the common denominator here is me. And what am I doing that I am finding myself in almost identical situations, just different players? And that was my wake up call. And that's when I turned into this Page of Pentacles, because I wanted to know, right? And again, what image is this? Of a childlike essence, right? So I needed to go in and begin to ask this child for me, right? What is it? What do you need? Right? Some people say it's reparenting ourselves for some of us, right? Beginning to learn to give ourselves those things that we did not get as a child for some of us, or as a teenager, right? Or, you know, addressing the scenario if it was a traumatic event, or, you know, but that's where, you know, the inquiries began, and those inquiries, you know, led to insight, right? And aha moments, right? And I'm hearing, to share this, one of the important things that was very helpful to me was journaling. And in the form of journaling that I'm speaking about is I would go back to specific scenarios that occurred in my childhood, right? Particularly significant ones that kind of stood out to me as painful initially. And then I rewrote it again from an adult's perspective, understanding that my initial view and interpretation of the scenario, of the person, of the place, of the event, was through childlike eyes. child understanding. But when I began to rewrite it and see it from an adult perspective, in hindsight now, it was mind blowing. It gave me so many new perspectives and interpretations, and like, wow, no wonder I feel, oh, I viewed that as this. It's kind of like the child who believes my parents are getting a divorce and it's my fault. I did something to do that. But then when you're an adult, you'll know now as an adult how preposterous that sounds. But unless you question it and go back and revisit it, sometimes you're walking around subconsciously and automatically with such a mind, such a preposterous belief, and aren't even aware of it, because triggers, if we want, are said that they're so automatic that they're like naked to the, to the, how they say something is naked to the regular eye, which is interesting. In this card, we have all of these eyes. This eye is looking, this eye is looking, these eyes are looking, all of these eyes, very intent looking, right? Which is very interesting because this next card, wow, there's a lot of cards with, nudity, which would signify vulnerability, right? Because that's another thing. When I looked at this Eight of Swords, I was reminded of the eighth house in astrology, which has to do with transformation and sexuality and relationships and intimacy, And for many, if you look at this card, I mean, this is very much in the bedroom. Sheets, right? Yes, and what I got when I saw this Nine of Swords was shame, lots and lots of shame, which then again, if we define shame as I believe I'm bad versus the behavior was bad. There's a distinction, which would then, of course, impact your sense of self-worth, which would then, of course, impact the way you relate to other people, the way you get into relationship with others. It's all interconnected. I'm hearing, hence this Page of Pentacles and her keen, from one end I saw her keen, like looking at this dragonfly, which also was a symbol of regeneration and resilience, interestingly enough. But it's feeding off of this flower. I flowered, I water this flower. Flowers are part of this garden. Like this, all interconnected, right? Like really looking at the nuances of things. But then I also saw her when I put her in front, the way she came out behind this, she was looking, it's like this child is now looking at herself as an adult. And as a novice, right, as this Page of Pentacle, which is all about, I got to get to the bottom of this, right? I got to learning where all of this shame, because that's a lot of eyes, right? I tend to hear All Eyes on Me by Tupac, right? Shakur, maybe rest in peace, brother Ashe, right? Another prophet killed too young. But which was mind-blowing when I contrasted it to all these eyes here. If you notice, these eyes are imprinted into her very body, into her soul, her essence, I'm hearing. And these eyes are all outside her, surrounding her, guiding her, helping her. She knows that there is a distinction between both. She knows they're not judging her. We're here, it's a different story. And I hear shame. Now I'm hearing that scene from Games of Thrones. Shame, 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 right? When they took her and paraded her up, through the town or city or whatever you want to call it, right? And how society does that, right? So of course we do it to ourselves and we believe it. And especially if the shameful act occurred, very close in between, like I said, to those child years or even these teen years, because this one wanted to just pop out on his own, revealed itself. I didn't even shuffle for it. But I thought it very interesting that this one is kind of like, to me, I saw it as a teenage figure, very much in union with and consoling this lion who was very vulnerable now with her. And, you know, all I heard, the strength that it takes to pursue such an endeavor, to dare, right? Kind of like the child that says, Mom, Dad, there's monsters under my bed, or please check my closet, you know, who decided, no, I will check the closet, I will check under the bed, right? Metaphorically speaking. And did such a great job that was able to, you know, soothe itself, comfort itself, become one with itself. Her and this lion are one now. Look at her tail, look at her ears. Right? And I'm hearing from Spirit, that's what happens when we accept ourselves wholly and fully, right? Those aspects that we initially call the shadow aspects of ourselves, but they're only in the shadow is because we relegate them there, you know? And it's only, you know, and I've said this before in a video of myself, it was only until those shadow aspects of myself said, enough is enough. We will no longer be dismissed. We refuse. We've endured it long enough from outsiders and even from you. And now that we have pumped the brakes on a lot of, because that's how it started, right? Once I started exploring, I started saying, oh no, hold up, boundaries have to come up, right? And relationships had to get cut. Hence this departure. I had to let go of some places, spaces, and people, friend, family, and foe, right? And lovers. And the, you know, I'm hearing the final countdown or the final frontiers on some Star Trek shit, right? Was me. It's like, okay, we got all those naysay, all those people out, but now it's just you in here. Now we have to address that, you. And we have to look at it as to why you believe you need to remain in this state and you're unworthy and you should feel shame somehow. We have to address that fallacy, those lies. And that came through an array of different practices, such as tarot. You know, first and foremost, my disclaimer is God, right? Divinity, God, goddess, because I don't believe it's male, female, right? So my ancestors, my spirit guides, right? Journaling, therapy, you know, whatever you need to do for you. You know, I guess, you know, for me, I'm very stubborn and, you know, so I needed a lot of help, right? And I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that, right? The point was to, and is to get to the joy, the acceptance, to depart, right? You know, and it's her, get thee behind me, Satan, right? Right? To allow myself to indulge, right? These are the key things, right? To become one with self, no matter what I have to do to get there. And I'm not claiming in any way I've arrived, right? But I promise you, I see this very different now, right? And like with anything, when you begin to see progress, you know, and I'm hearing like use exercise, for example, if you know, go to the gym and you get on the treadmill and, you know, your first couple of days, you're out of breath from a 10-minute walk. But then you stick to it, and then 2 weeks later, you're like, oh my God, I'm up to half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm cool, I'm straight, right? You're building up this endurance, right? It's strengthening, right? It comes through this repetitive practice, right? It takes strength, right? But you're not alone, right? And you don't have to abandon everything in terms of dismissing it. You know, that's another thing that I have begun to incorporate and learn for myself, that some of those shadow aspects, you know, I had to come to the conclusion that once I heard them and looked at them, they really did not have a, a particular role moving forward to my next chapter. What do I mean by that? That I thanked it because it was a goon to endure and to fight for me all those years, right? And said to it, you can rest now, right? Kind of like this leaf, you know, is going with her to the new home, or him, and it will be incorporated in the new nest in terms of that lesson, that understanding now is infused, right, and is strengthening now this new nest. But it's in its proper, I don't know, for me, place, right? And it's like honorary, kind of like ancestral veneration, right? Where, you know, you sit there pretty. I'll bring you your cup of water. I'll light the candle. So lest I forget, I never, you know, I always want to remember, right? And thank you, right, for that aspect. But now I need to make room for the new things that are coming in as well, right? So there's this delicate balance, right, of knowing what to let go of, knowing what to give proper space to, right, within, and then which will allow for newness also to come in, because if we keep everything, you know, and I'm here, bag lady, you gonna miss your bus, you know, carrying all those bags like that, there's some baggage that needs to be, right? Yeah. I don't know. I guess I wanted to ask Spirit if there was anything that I might have left out or that needed to be said. I thought we would pull more cards, but it seems like I've gone in about an hour now. And yeah, I'm hearing, let's pull an oracle card to close this beautiful, you know, message. Message of hope, message of joy, message of pleasure, right? Message of new adventure, right? Because if you're departing from one place, that means you're entering something new, right? Message of congratulations, of, you know, I'm proud of you, good job, job well done, you know. Thank you, Spirit, right? And now let's see what oracle card can close us can, you know, I don't know. I just looked at that card and heard, put the icing on the cake. Right? Or I don't know. Maybe in this case, a little scoop of whipped cream on top of that strawberry, right? And then confirmation. Did you hear that? Interesting. In the card, it's many, but I'm always, when it's this many, I always feel led to kick the bottom one. Is Beauty Way and another dragonfly. Interesting. And that's looks like, I don't know, we'll read it in the book, but like a lotus flower. If it is, I mean, if you know about the lotus flower, it grows in the mud, in the darkest, deepest of places, right? And makes its way all the way up and then blossoms at the top, right? Ooh, I just got chills. Talking about Tupac, I just heard the rose that grew in concrete. Go read that, right? Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Ashe. Love you. Yeah, talk about music. Thank you. You have healed me through your music as well. So thank you for the legacy you have left behind via music. Just want to read the dragonflies. It talks about adaptability. They represent the wisdom and resilience to adapt to change because they can change form throughout their lives, right? That's beautiful, right? That's a hope, message of hope to let us know we can and will transform. This eighth house again, right? Which interestingly again came up again in this strength card. This house of transformation, life, death, and rebirth, and self-realization. Dragonflies symbolize the kind of change that comes from mental and emotional maturity. Come on now, that's what we were just talking about. Well, not we, the spirit, right, was just saying to us. Living in the moment, connection to nature, and good fortune. Right? And now I'll go into the guidebook. It is card number 4, which represents home, stability, right? Security, right? Which that's what becomes imbalanced, I'm hearing, particularly during childhood when we experience these things, right? Yeah, the 4th house in astrology, house of home and family. Interesting, the 4th. So, Beauty Way reads as follows. The essence. The beauty way is both a path that you travel on and a daily practice. The path is when you choose to perceive only beauty before you, behind you, and all around you as you journey through life. The practice is where you take action to bring beauty to every situation you are in. When things get ugly, you act to bring integrity and peace to the difficult encounter. When everyone else perceives only darkness, you point out the light and help uncover the hidden treasures. The invitation. The beauty way invites you to create beauty in your life and to recognize the beauty inside yourself. Amen. Amen. Ashe. And in others. Stop to smell the roses, take a deep breath, look up at the stars, and recognize the splendor that surrounds you. See the beauty in whatever situation you find yourself in, and you will receive the lesson that life is teaching you in a kind and gentle way. The medicine. Stop trying to fix relationships that you believe are broken. Recognize that things are exactly as they need to be in this moment and acknowledge the inherent beauty in that. When you understand this, you will be able to bring about the change you want. Do not engage in gossip about the darkness and flaws of others. Be careful not to be seduced by the superficial beauty of a project or relationship you are toying with, unless you are willing to pay a price for it later. I'm not too keen on that. But yes, the most that stuck out for me, the beauty within yourself. And that's pivotal. That is key, because once you are able to recognize the beauty in yourself, then you are so more readily available to recognize that beauty in others. And when you are able to recognize that beauty in yourself, you will no longer align with people who are unable to see the beauty within you. That was one of the keys that I had to realize why I was falling into the same pattern. I was falling into the same pattern with this different players because I was not changing what I believed about myself. If I believed I was unworthy and undeserving of love, guess what? I was going to attract jobs, friends, lovers that didn't think I was worthy and deserving of it either. If I didn't think if I thought it was a sin to indulge, to fulfill my dreams and my heart's desires, then guess what? I would attract people who also believe that. And what they say, like minds think alike, right? That's not always good. Or in this case of, if you thinking, oh, listen. So when you get to see the beauty in yourself, when you get to see yourself the way your ancestors see you, the way your spirit guide sees you, the way the divinity that lives within you, that is a part of you, that is you, sees yourself, then the world will also see it. They can't help it. You will exude it. It will be as bright as the sun. And I'm hearing, and as sure as the sun that comes up daily. Right? That's a beautiful way to close out this reading. I am so grateful that I was able to share this. Actually, getting on camera and talking about it and sharing it with you all really provided so much more clarity and insight and beauty, for me. I hope that this was able to help you and that you were able to resonate with it. And as always, I want to thank my ancestors, my guides, and this beautiful oneness, right? This La ilaha illallah, that I am so grateful for its love, its guidance, its wisdom, its mercy, its grace, its everything, right? In my life. And I look forward to our next encounter, beloved. Until then, stay safe. Ashe, amen, and amen. Mwah.